Hey everybody, welcome to the kitchen. So we went into the beehive yesterday and pulled out our honey harvest for this year. Now we have new beehives this year. We're using a different variety of honeybee called Buckfast. We are so far very impressed with them. So we are leaving most of the honey on the hive for the bees this year, and we just took a little bit. We took 5 frames total. A frame is this right here. We have boxes that contain 10 frames per box. So you can hear the parrot in the background, I apologize. So 10 of these in one box of honey. Now these are averaging about 4.5 pounds when they're full of honey. So one box of honey can weigh upwards of 50 pounds. We pulled 4 frames and we have been getting about a quart of honey per frame. These have a wax coated plastic foundation in the middle here, surrounded by a wood frame. Each side contains honeycomb that was made by the bees. They pull wax, make the honeycomb cells, fill it with nectar. They let the nectar evaporate, and when it's concentrated enough, it's honey, and they cap it with wax. We picked 5 of those, so we expect to get about 5 quarts of honey. Now we may give away probably most of a quart, but 4 quarts of honey, that's still a lot of honey. Just want to show you what I'm doing to separate the honey from the honeycomb. Now we do have a honey extractor. It's a big steel drum that you put the frames in a bunch at a time after you uncap them, and you spin it around and it, just put that over there. You spin it around and it releases the honey into the bottom and it drains out through a bucket. We don't need to do that. We only have the 4 or 5 frames of honey that we took this year, so that would be overkill. There's a lot of prep work and cleaning and things involved with it. So for just this small amount of honey, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the what's called the crush and strain method of honey extraction. It's more destructive. It destroys the honeycomb that the bees have made, it's ideal not to do that, but if you're just taking a little bit, that's fine. The bees can, remake the frames, no problem. And it's still early enough in the year that they should be able to do that. But I'll show you what's going on here with what I'm doing. Okay, so I have a mixing bowl here, and this is a honey strainer. It's a honey filter. It has a coarse mesh on top here and a fine mesh on the bottom. Now you can put the honey through an additional filter made for honey itself. I'm not going to do that because it's filtering just fine the way it is. But what happens is you scrape the comb off on top here and let all the honey drain into the bowl below. And you can see, it's difficult to see, but there's quite a bit of honey in that bowl. It's about 1/3 full or so. So I'm just going to demonstrate what I'm doing here. I've got these frames on a cookie tray, a cookie sheet, so that they don't get the counter all sticky. It's still going to happen anyway, that's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the frames, I'm taking a quick glance, making sure I don't see any bee eggs or larvae. It's unlikely, but no, I think we're all set to do this one. So I'm just kind of carefully taking this and I'm just going through and scraping all of this off right into the honey filter. And I'm just using a cake froster, a spreader, and doing my best to do it in one swoop as cleanly as I can. Another good tool would be like a silicone spreader or bowl scraper. So do one side, then we'll do the other side. There's a little wood shaving in there. Trying not to get the bowl all sticky, but sometimes can't be helped. Now it is pretty warm outside. It would be harder to do this if it were cooler out, but even in Michigan today it could be upwards of 100 degrees. Now there's ways to cut the comb off more cleanly. There is actually a frame type that you can do what's called cut comb honey. So if you wanted to sell squares of honeycomb, you could do it that way. Honeycomb is delicious, by the way, with cheese and on all sorts of things. Some people eat the wax, some people don't. I personally try not to eat a bunch of it. Okay, so this is empty and it's quite sticky, so I'm going to put it in the sink, rinse it with warm water, and give it back to the bees to continue working on it. So I am just kind of agitating this to get it spread around and the comb broken up, any nasty bits removed and put aside. This comb is pretty clean though, and I'll show you what it's doing. See all that honey coming through? Now it's going to take a little bit to drain. That's okay. I can just let it sit while I'm doing other things. Now you can heat your frames up a little bit. We did that with the first one that we harvested last week. We just took one frame just to sample the honey, and we actually put it on a cookie sheet in the oven and uncapped. We cut the wax cappings off here. Tried to put it upside down like this and have it drain. But honestly, that didn't really work very well. So again, we're just literally just scraping right down to the yellow foundation, which is this plastic stuff here. Just like that. This is called the crush and strain method. It's not what I would choose to do were we to get a large honey harvest. I would prefer to save the comb if possible for the bees to reuse just to give them a little shortcut. But because we're taking so little this year, we're not going to do that. We're going to sacrifice the few frames so that the hives can rebuild these. And the bees are doing an excellent job this year. We're very impressed with the Buckfast. This is the first year we've ever kept Buckfast bees. We're finding that, again, as I said, when we were out in the hives, they're supposed to be more docile, and we have found that to be true. We're quite impressed. We really invaded the hive yesterday. We had to do the things that we showed you on video, but we really disrupted them, and we did not get stung. Eric and I didn't get stung one time this whole season yet, which is very unusual. Very, very unusual. Usually one of us or both have been stung at least once. So this is quite messy, as you can see. I would say try not to touch the honey with your hands. Make sure you're using a clean utensil. And then this is all going to go in mason jars for use during the year. We've got quite a bit coming through there. It may fill up this bowl, but that's okay. Got just a couple little pockets of darker wax that I'm going to take out. And this comb, you can eat this. Just kind of spit out the wax. And I'm rinsing the leftover wax and putting it in a bag to render down later. Just wanted to show you the amount of honey that we pulled off of those 5 frames that we processed. So this is just shy of a gallon of honey. These are half-gallon mason jars. It's beautiful color, nice clear honey, nice light flavor and color. Now, this probably won't last us all year. That's okay. Hopefully if our hives do well over the winter, we'll have, you know, many times more than this amount next year. But I'm pretty excited about getting this amount. This is the first honey we've had in a good 3 years or so. We ran out and we took a year off of beekeeping, and our hives didn't do well the last year that we kept them, so we didn't pull any honey, but this is really exciting to me. I'll share a little bit with some friends, and yeah, super excited. So if you're curious what I did with the beeswax that we scraped off of the frames when we used the crush and strain honey harvest method, this is it. So I have a bar pan from Pampered Chef. You can use any silicone bar pan, and I rendered the beeswax, which is someday I'll make a video on that. But anyway, you clean the beeswax and you pour it into a mold, or some people just leave it loose. But I find these little bars to be pretty handy. You can use them for all sorts of things. You can grate them up and use them for skincare products, lip balm. You can use it for candles. You can use it for all sorts of things. And it's right from our own backyard here, right from our hives. And they smell fantastic. I just love the way beeswax smells. This is the amount that we got off of the 5 frames that we harvested. So there's quite a bit here. As you can tell, this is a dinner plate. So pretty cool. It's nice and clean for when I would go to use it later. Nice resource to have on hand.